Welcome back to Broken Bobby's transformation page. In the late 80s, I became involved with drugs and would eventually become part of that lifestyle of trafficking, addiction, and violence. Over the next 20 years, I would be in and out of jail and prison. If you're thinking about trying something or you're dealing with addiction, your life don't need to go down the same path mine did. I hurt a lot of people, both physically and emotionally. These are my stories of how I transformed my life, and you can too. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see by the thumbnail and the title, this is when the whites get active in prison. So people have been commenting on my last video where I shouted out Splinter at the beginning of Prison POV and asking, what's going on with him, if he relapsed or whatever. I don't know. I will not answer any questions on that because I don't know, and the man can speak for himself. Like I said, his channel is Prison POV, so you can go over and check out his channel, and you can ask him those questions or, draw a conclusion of your own. Either way, it's not my business to speak on, and honestly, I don't even know. So hope he's doing well, and let's get into the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, smash that like button, drop a comment, share the video. It really helps to grow. And don't forget to hit that notification bell and click that all button so that anytime I go live or drop a new video, you will be informed. So let's start off in LA County Jail. I know the title is prison, but it's all lockup pretty much. So I tell the story of the LA County Jail riot where, I was in Supermax out at Pitches Detention Center, and I was with a big skinhead named Savage. I think he was out of either San Gabriel or San Fernando, I'm not sure. And there was a Nazi lowrider. We'll call him Demon for the story. I don't like to drop names, and so, we'll give them some names so that you can follow along, but they may or may not be their real names, or their names that I knew them by. So Demon, he was probably 5'10", 180 or so, kind of an average looking dude, and he talked big game, you know what I mean? And to be honest with you, I thought he was kind of full of it. But when it was time to ride, he showed who he really was, and he handled business. So shout out to him. From what I understand, he was sentenced to death in the case that he was down fighting from prison. And hopefully someday he'll get a chance to get back out. Now, Savage, that was a big skinhead right there. Dude was probably 6'3", 250-ish. And with the business, so basically what had happened was, I'll give you a brief rundown on what had happened that led up to this. There is a shower line when you're in LA County Jail, and basically the way that works is if somebody's in the shower, you go and say, hey, who's got next? And they'll tell you, oh, homeboy from Florencia or whatever. So you go over to the homeboy from Florencia, and you say, hey, is anybody after you? And so on and so on. Sometimes there might be 8 or 10 people waiting for the shower. So you got to figure out who's last on that line and tell them I got next, basically. Well, Demon was supposed to be next in the shower, and the shot caller for the Pisces jumped the line on him. And, what happened with that, I don't know. That's just what I heard, but Demon told him you need to get out of the shower, and the Paisa rep basically blew him off. So Demon got off on him in the shower. And, we were told there were like 9 of us in that dorm, 9 whites, I should say. And we were told, stay on your toes, it may pop off. They're probably going to want their run backs, blah, blah, blah. And a couple days had gone by and nothing had happened. We were still staying on our toes, if you will. and we had a little junta amongst the woods, and we decided that we were just going to kick it off because waiting, nothing happening. But they're saying that it's not a dead issue, so we kicked it off in the day room, and we were outnumbered at least 5-1 on that one. And the I don't remember if it was Savage or Demon, but he had a relationship with the Southsider rep because I think they were from the same area, and he had went and had a talk with him, and basically the Southsider rep said that he was going to tell his people to stand down, but he couldn't guarantee that everybody would, and all of them didn't. Luckily, they all didn't jump because that would have really been a mess. But so we kicked it off, and Savage was the first one to strike. He kicked it off, busted dude's whole face. I'm not going to say if there was a winner or loser there, but outnumbered 5-1, you can do the math. And honestly, who really wins in this stuff anyways? You're still locked up when it's all said and done, and it is what it is. So that's my first story. Then we move on to reception. This is North Kern. And the thing about reception that I will say is there's always a lot of cleanup going on in reception because paperwork don't necessarily get checked as well when you're in the county. It's not as big a thing in the county because you're not necessarily convicted yet. Although, don't get it twisted. If you have one of those S offense charges, whether you're guilty or not, you're going to get what's coming. But so we're in North Kern, obviously active side, and there was a S offender in the building that liked little kids. And I didn't actually get in on this one, but the way they did it was the shot caller basically sent teams in on this guy. They got him to the rear restroom upstairs, which is where most of the disciplines and stuff like that happened. And they sent guys in 2 at a time for, 15, 20, 30 seconds, whatever. And it was just one team after another until they finally caught the dude. One of the dudes that was a part of that last team. And, the thing is, when something like that is happening in an open dorm, like there is so much noise that's being made from the squeaking of the shoes. Kind of sounds like a basketball game. If you've ever been to some sort of organized basketball game, the way the shoes squeak on the floor, very similar sound, as well as the thumping that's going on. And on that one, shout out to the homie that did get busted, because you know what? What we do in there is when the CO's walking, we'll announce that walking. And this was upstairs. So, walking inside, walking. And he's in there doing his thing. Dude comes walking out, makes eye contact with the CO. And because he was already upstairs, he wasn't too far away, and he knew he was busted. So I'm sorry, I don't remember what his name is, or I would give him a shout out for taking care of business on that. But once he made eye contact with the CO, he knew he was busted. He turned around and went back in hard again, and ended up getting sprayed and batoned and all that other stuff that they do when there's an assault going on. So I don't know whatever happened to that guy, but he definitely handled business, and the S offender learned a lesson that day, I guess you would say. So let's move on to McFarland. So this is a CCF, considered level 2. It's extra security, whatever. They're security guards there, basically, though. Like, it's not, there's no real Department of Corrections folks there. And me and Blue was from San Fernando. He's a cool homie. If you're out there, shout out to you, Blue. We were over on the basketball court area, which was down towards the end of the yard. And there was this wood. He was sort of J-Caddy, if you will. Little different. And he was over by the gate, maybe 20 feet away from us. And for some reason, he was digging in the dirt and he managed to find our piece. He didn't know it was there. We honestly, we had agreements with the other races that pieces weren't needed here. But the thing is, there weren't a lot of woods in this place, so we had some extra insurance, if you will, buried along that fence, just in case something were to kick off and we could get to them. Then we would use them, And this J-Cat over there was messing around by the fence, and he found it, and he was waving it over his head. He's like, "Blue, Bobby, look, I found a weapon." And me and Blue look at each other like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? So we, like I said, there are security guards there. So like nobody seen that it happened. We got it. And as a show of, allegiance with the deal that we had made with other racial groups, we tossed it over the gate. And old boy ended up getting a DP. And what we did with that in making the decision of who was going to get on this guy, it's prison politics, basically. We decided that the two that were going to get on him were going to get on him and stay on him until, they got caught, like at yard type of thing. And, that's what we did. There were a couple of guys that honestly just weren't very well liked. They ran their mouth too much about all the stuff that they had, even though they were always asking for a soup or a shot of coffee. So, we didn't want to really lose numbers there because we didn't have much to begin with. But, we selected a couple of guys that we wouldn't miss, basically. So we had them get on this dude and ended up losing 3 guys that day. But like I said, the one guy, like, that's one of the biggest no-nos of all. Like, you don't have a weapon on the yard, whether you found it, whether someone gave it to you, whatever, and wave it over your head and yell for somebody. Like, you are making the spot hot, And they ended up doing shakedowns not too long after that. I don't know if they went back and reviewed camera footage or how they figured that out, because it wasn't caught on the yard, but all of a sudden they're shaking down the buildings. So yeah, dude had to go, and a couple of guys were selected to handle that, and their orders were to get on him and stay on him. There were no weapons involved or anything. It was just hands and feet. But they lumped him up pretty good. And the thing is, and this is going to be the last example I offer on this one. Once again, in reception, I've told the story before of how my Sally Shorty was arguing with the guy from Peni, saying that skinheads don't run his program. And I thought the Woods were going to get up with the skinheads over that. But we ended up kicking off a riot on the first yard I was on in actual prison. I had been in confined to quarters. I got released to yard, and a big one, I don't know what his name was. Like I said, I just hit the yard. I hadn't met anybody yet. And he said, "You guys ready?" And the shit kicked off and it went up. And, there were some weapons that were used in that scenario. And luckily for me, it was just hand-to-hand combat with a guy. And, we both got out of there relatively okay. But, the whites definitely put some work in on that one. And when I would end up back at North Kern, eventually about a year later, the level 3 where I ended up had kicked off too. And a lot of times when something like that happens, when there is some sort of a melee or a riot between races on one yard, word travels to the other yards, and they tend to kick off as well. So, that is kind of a rundown of what it's like in prison. And, the thing is, if you don't get in trouble, you won't have to worry about these sort of things. And I say that all the time, but it's basically the truth. Addiction will take you there, guys. So family, fitness, and freedom are the things that delivered me from being a part of this sort of lifestyle, and they can help you as well. Sometimes if you have the urge to use, go hit the gym. Like you can get a membership at Planet Fitness for like $10 a month. So go hit the gym for a while. Like you'd be surprised how good you feel when you're done, and it becomes addictive as well. So that's my video for the day. I hope you guys your work week is off to a great start, and don't look at the mountain, just start climbing.